And can we do roll call, please?
Yes. Chair Fletcher,
Here.
Vice Chair Olivato,
Present.
Commissioner Kaufman.
Present. Sorry, I'll get my video on in a moment.
Thank you. Commissioner Islam.
Looks like her
There she
audio
is.
just connected.
Yeah. Commissioner Keener. Okay, I think Commissioner Keener is also connecting to audio.
Okay, well, we have a
Chair,
quorum.
yes, you have quorum.
Thank you. It's not letting her unmute.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Communications and correspondence from the public. Did anything
None
come in?
received. None received, Chair Fletcher.
None received. Okay, thank you very
Yes.
much.
Thank you.
And Matt, I'll toss it to you.
Sure. Aloha. Good morning, everyone. Matt Gonzer, Director for the City's Office of Climate Change, Sustainability, and Resiliency. I know there's a lot that you all have on your agenda, a couple of updates related to some of those topics and themes. But also, I just wanted to start off and acknowledge an historic day. That was Wednesday, which was the last shipment of coal arriving to Oahu as we prepare to turn off the coal-fired plant at the end of next month. You know, very important that not only are we able to turn off our dirtiest source of electricity generation on island, but also recognize that the sourcing of those sources has ravaged other communities. And when we have opportunities to be more energy secure through renewable resources right outside our window, that's better for affordability and climate action for everyone. Hey, Dane, hot mic there. And this, works alongside with the Powering Past Coal Task Force that the governor established last year for this purpose, right? Preparing our communities for turning off what has been a significant source of electricity, but that is unneeded moving forward. And we're grateful for the support from the State Energy Office. We know that, actually permitting and bringing online both grid scale projects, but also distributed renewable resources right above people's roofs is critically important to continue to marry affordability and climate action. And we're appreciative of that support for the department in concert with programs from Hawaiian Electric and Hawaii Energy to support, again, our continued transition. And then lastly, just a little bit of pep in my step, hearing some of the potential progress at the federal level through the Inflation Reduction Act, again, recognizing that long-term stability for markets is needed. And when we can provide that for the renewable energy sector, there's confidence to move forward with these kinds of projects and work while also driving down expenses and curbing inflation. So I'm feeling feeling good this morning, Chair, and happy to share that update. But I think it's also because the office, we've been engaged in a whole variety of things since the last meeting. And really, I just want to focus on some of those engagements, whether it's general updates with the Oahu Club, the Oahu group for the Sierra Club, reconnecting with critical partners along in all these efforts. Recently, we had our energy program manager, Ben Sullivan, at the Native Hawaiian Conference, talking about the partnerships for Solarize campaign and energy security on the west side with a lot of the partners out there. Our food security and sustainability team, also in the same geography, just wrapped up at the end of June, a series of 3 food security summits. And this is a model that we're now looking at deploying with funding from the State Department of Health to really make sure that the city is stepping up into the opportunities for food security and sustainability in that sector in particular. I had the great fun of joining a virtual bike rally for the Hawaii Bicycling League a couple of Saturdays ago, just to share more about how critically important it is to invest in our communities. Community access and mobility is an equity issue. And frankly, riding a bike is capital F fun when we can do it safely around different parts of the island. And oh, by the way, it's also climate action. You know, myself and Alex Yee from the adaptation team, we had the good fun to be on 2 different KHON empowered segments, one focusing on climate and how climate is increasing risks from natural hazards. That was sort of in preparedness for hurricane season, where we joined a union and Hawaiian Electric to talk about grid stability and concerns thereof. And then Alex was additionally featured in a sea level rise specific discussion, and all of those are available at KHON's Empowered website. And then also Alex and team, you know, we've been talking about improving our own equitable community engagement efforts, and we've shared in the past this partnership we had with Malama Learning Center to help us connect with community-based organizations on the west side and on North Shore, where there were some gaps in some of our outreach. Outside Hawaii is a show on OC16, and this past Sunday, they were featuring that partnership and that ongoing efforts to ensure that we're connecting with people in place. This week was kind of busy with 2 really critical community meetings for the Alawai Watershed Flood Risk Reduction Study. We had a big showing both at a virtual meeting late Tuesday and then just last night at the Alawai Golf Course Clubhouse. We're appreciative for people really being open, as the Corps, frankly, has had a much better, transparent, and iterative process, not only for idea generation, but for more of these opportunities for engagement. And then lastly, back on the climate adaptation side, we hosted the 5th Community Advisory Hui meeting for that project on Tuesday. And we're working on an open house likely to be at the Blaisdell at the end of August. So if you're inclined, save the date for August the 27th. And then lastly, on the policy side, thank you to the Commission for your support for what was Bill 22. I'm pleased to say that that passed by Council on July the 6th and was signed by Mayor on July the 20th and is now Ordinance 22-17, a lot more to build up in terms of outreach materials and setting up that program, but there's already ways that people can get involved and start saving money today and building out their building profile at resilientoahu.org/benchmarking. Efficiency is the cheapest way to drive down costs, but we also know that when we build things new, they should be more efficient. So we're pleased with a really open process engaging on the next update for the Energy Conservation Code, and we hope to have more information on that over the coming months. And then directly related to this Commission's past support around sea level rise guidance and shoreline setback guidance, Bills 41 and 42 have been introduced at Council. Bill 41 is addressing what is currently Chapter 23, which is the shoreline setback ordinance, and then Chapter 25 is the special management area chapter of ordinance, and that's Bill 42. So these things are in concert with Act 16 at the state a couple of years ago. So we're just ensuring that our rules are updated with the state Special Coastal Zone Management Act, but also incorporating the guidance and frankly, all of the community plans and policies and values out there that want to make sure that we don't facilitate building in harm's way. We know that we need to reduce risk to people in place structures, but also risk to the community. We want to incorporate context-based shoreline setback rules and regulations, and that's really what Bill 41 puts forward for consideration. It passed first reading in July. It has not yet been scheduled for a committee meeting. It would be assigned to the Zoning and Planning Committee. So I would just recommend for any that are interested in getting notices, you can go to the Bill 41 and 42 sections, and I believe you can get notified for when those get scheduled. So that was a lot rapid fire. Happy to take any questions on any of that or things that perhaps I may not have covered.
Are you not able to unmute, Chip?
Chip, are you a co-host? I think we need to make you a co-host. The other commissioners are co-hosts. Okay, you should be able to unmute now, Chip.
There we go. Thank you, Vicky. I was getting the same message you were. Any questions or comments from commissioners? Go ahead and unmute. All right, and from the, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'll just jump in. Matt, thank you for all of the updates, and I appreciated all of the positive updates there. That's really great. And the enthusiasm around them. So mahalo.
How about the public? Any questions or comments? All right, thanks very much, Matt. That was great.
Thank you.
Let's see, the next item is discussion and transfer of leadership for urban heat guidance document. Who is the current curator of that document, Rosie or McKenna?
McKenna and I have been working together to provide additional edits, and we find that we still need additional time. Since McKenna is stepping off of the commission, I am happy to continue to take point on it, and then suggesting that it be transferred from McKenna to Vicky.
Vicky?
Okey doke.
Okay, I don't think we need to vote on this. That's done. And next item is discussion and action on updated climate change and social equity guidance document. Rosie, do you want to introduce the doc for us?
Yes, so this is a document that Commissioner Keener and I, Vicky, have been working on. We received some much needed advice about increasing the inclusivity of people with disabilities in our document. That was not something that we had explicitly added as one of the vulnerable communities, but it's important to note that people with disabilities currently stand as the largest minority group in the United States. And so it is quite important that we include them as an important key demographic. And so based on feedback that we've got from members in the city, I'm blanking now on who exactly, on the people who reached out, but it was from within the city. We got commentary back on specific areas. Vicky and I, with the help of our GA, Ryan, went through and updated it so that the draft that you all have is an updated copy that basically broadens the language. And so I want to open it up for Vicky if she wanted to say anything more.
Nope, I think you covered it. And table 2, so there's additional text and references scattered throughout the documents in appropriate sections, but an easy way to kind of get a sense is to look in table 2, where we modified the table of social vulnerability factors and added a new line for people with disabilities.
Great, thank you. Rosie?
Oh, well, so I just wanted to say we welcome, the commissioners received the draft. If you guys have any additional changes or updates, we're happy to hear them at this time. If it's not anything substantive, then I would move to adopt this update.
Thank you. Melanie, any comments?
No major comments. I think it was a really great paper. I liked the focus of it. It's my first time sort of reading this draft. I think the first one was published prior to me joining the commission. So I guess my main one comment, and I'm not sure if it came up in the stakeholder meeting, but it would be great to sort of maybe this is in the recommendations, to talk about some strategies that other cities have done that perhaps the city can look at. Because I think process was a really big thing, right? About getting broader engagement of the community. So that was that. But other than, I think it was a really great paper so far, and move to make it a recommendation.
Great, thank you. McKenna?
Can I just respond to that comment really quickly from Melanie?
Sure.
Yeah, thanks, Melanie, for your comment. So in terms of kind of that following the case study examples from other cities, one of the, so there are a lot of appendices to the social equity document, and many of them cover equity and climate adaptation plans as they are implemented in other cities. So there are some other, quite a few other examples of implementation from other cities in the appendices for the reference of the public and the commission.
Thanks.
McKenna?
Well, just a second, I think it's a really important inclusion of peoples with disabilities and bringing that into the equity paper as an update. So I very much support that and think it's really well done. So I guess I would move to go to a vote.
And okay, so I agree with everybody that it's a great paper. I think it's ready to go up for a vote. I have a couple of questions. Table 2, where is mental health? Where would mental health fall here? Behavior and attitudes or disability?
I was conceptualizing it with the disability, so physical, mental, the holistic.
Okay, I don't see it actually said.
So state of Hawaii indicators in the last row on table 2, for example, the percentage of adults who report having difficulty with any activities because of a physical, mental, or emotional condition, for example.
Okay. Good. So you feel that's a sufficient call out to this huge issue? I mean, I'll go with what you think.
So sufficient, we could do an entire other document on, mental health associated with mental health stressors associated with climate change impacts and hazards. I believe for the purposes of the equity document, calling it out and including it in the persons with the disabilities category is enough for this. But with the note that it's a possibility to expand on for an entire guidance document if the city.
Does anybody know if mental health is classed as a disability? Mental health issues? Maybe someone could do a quick Google on that question. And I'm wondering if, so you have a title over here, disability. I wonder if we could say disability, including mental health, or disability, comma, mental health.
So
Yes.
I generally think it is under the umbrella, but not
So
exactly my
you
feel,
think,
but I
but you're
think
not sure.
Well, when you Google, the top thing that comes up is that it is covered with under disability under the Social Security Administration. So federally, it seems so.
Okay. All right, moving then on that same page 9 under 3.2. Fourth line down begins, commission advises the Office of Climate Change, yada, 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 to consult with OHA and DHHL. Do you want to add that to the recommendations in the front? Is it already? I couldn't find it in the recommendations in the front. Is that a separate recommendation you want to make?
Yeah, I kind of see that one as being reflected in recommendation 5, which is outreach to communities, working with existing agencies that work with these communities. It's not called out specifically like it is later in that section. We could add in recommendation 5, something about city agencies specifically.
I don't necessarily,
Or DHHL and OHA.
I'm not necessarily calling for this. I just wanted to point it out and ask whether you guys are aware that it's buried in the document. Did you want to pull it out to the recommendations? If not, that's fine with me too. There are a couple of others as well.
Yeah. So if I can answer maybe a little bit is we utilized what we tried to do in terms of the organization of the document was to be pretty succinct in the recommendations, and then in the introduction and subsequent documentation to provide additional examples of what that might mean. We're happy to pull those specific examples out and put it in the recommendations, but we also wanted to be flexible in the recommendations to allow for appropriate reach out to different communities under different specific situations that we were dealing with. But I mean, we're happy to have a discussion as we are now.
Also on page 10, third paragraph down, it says the focus group also expressed concern over inadequate infrastructure in the case of disaster events. So I just want to make sure that's reflected somehow in the recommendations. And then on page 11, you have areas for further research. And I just wanted to make sure that's reflected in the recommendations, because these are all important things that you're identifying. And I just want to make sure that they're making it up there. And if you feel they are, that's enough for me. And those are all that I have. Comments that I have.
I actually like the comment, the suggestion to bring the infrastructure more forward in the recommendations. I don't think that is explicitly called out enough. And I don't think it would be, I don't think that's a substantive change, but we could incorporate it potentially into recommendation number 4.
Yeah, it mentions community risks there. So
yeah. Or
Yep.
2, let's identify frontline communities experiencing chronic climate shocks that could fit into updating infrastructure or providing hazard resilient infrastructure there as well.
yeah, either of those. And I don't think we need to wordsmith it. The concept of moving it up there in the recommendations can take place offline, I think.
Yeah.
Courtney can step on that opinion if she's here and disagrees, but otherwise, just make a note and you guys can wordsmith that after the fact. Okay, I'm ready to move to comment. Go ahead, McKenna.
Oh, can I just jump in with a quick wordsmith so that we're ironclad on voting today? I would suggest just adding the words including vulnerable infrastructure in bullet point 4 in the recommendations in the first non-bolded sentence where it says about communicate about areas of high risk, including vulnerable infrastructure.
Great. Anything else from commissioners? Matt, any thoughts or comments before I open it to the public?
Oh, sorry, Chip.
Yeah.
I had one comment, which is, so our update was something that people in an agency in the city reached out to us about. So I just wanted to say that, like all of our documents, we see them as living documents that, you know, can be updated in the future. And so we really welcome if there are additional communities that we've missed or additional kinds of further research. For instance, something that Vicki and I had discussed, but we weren't sure this was meritorious here or in its own document, might be increasing environmental justice issues and climate, you know, related to military operations that result in kind of really extensive environmental damage, for instance. We did not know whether or not that was something we should explicitly call out here, or if maybe we address that in a future guidance document. So just wanted to put that out there for the public to please send in your ideas.
Great, thank you. Why don't we open it to the public now? Please just go ahead and unmute yourself or raise a hand if we have a lot. Nancy, yes, go ahead, please. Yeah, having trouble unmuting? I'm not sure
Sorry,
why.
you should be able to do that now.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. Yeah, this is a really great document under 3.2. You know, I really appreciate calling out that the OCCSR needs to consult with DHHL as well as OHA. The one thing that's not on the list as far as a vulnerability issue, and it's a little bit sensitive, and I'm sorry I didn't get you these comments before the meeting, but historically, Hawaiian Homelands has suffered from challenges with inadequate infrastructure. I'm looking the wrong way here. And conveying this infrastructure to the city for operations and maintenance. There actually had to be state legislation passed to remedy the situation. Papakolea is a really good example. And so I guess if you could add something that talks about Hawaiian homelands are more vulnerable because of historic I don't know how to put it, underinvestment or historically inadequate infrastructure operations and maintenance or something like that. I mean, that's part of the problem is we are still trying to bring the infrastructure up to snuff so that it can be conveyed to the city and county for operations and maintenance. And this has been going on for decades.
Maybe that could just go as another bullet in 3.2.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
That'd be
I
easy.
didn't want to make a big deal out of it, but I think it kind of should be memorialized because that's one of our issues is, the money we have to spend to maintain drainage, to bring up, sewer systems, all of that. It's really challenging for us.
Can you wordsmith the phrase? Put it in the chat?
I
Give us a
could
bullet point.
try. I don't know if I can do it quickly enough. I know you want to vote on it.
Take a shot at it. Henry.
It's interesting to note that Hawaiian Electric has opened a $190 million 5-year climate resilience proceeding at the Public Utilities Commission and has excluded the word that we're talking about here, social equity. Yes.
Excluded as in it was there and then removed?
No, excluded in that it's not considered an issue. We intervened and we're seeking to add it, but the utility as of now does not want the word equity in their document to overhaul the grid to make it climate secure.
Thank you for that. Anybody else? All right. Maybe we just add a bullet. DHHL historic issues with infrastructure.
I put something in the chat that I captured and wrote down while Nancy was talking. So
DHHL
sorry.
have been made more vulnerable by historically inadequate infrastructure operations and great maintenance. Great. Okay, so let's include that as a bullet.
Yep.
Everybody.
Sorry about the
agree?
tense there. I was just
It's all right.
That's perfect, McKenna. Thank you.
I wasn't going to challenge it because I wasn't sure.
yeah, I'll so I have that in a comment and Rosie and I will integrate that into the bullet point
Great.
in section 3.2.
Great. Okay, last call for comments from the public. Matt.
Apologies, it was just, I was slow on the unmute when you asked before. No comments at this time, just greatly appreciate the commission always putting forth the best thinking and your all's recommendations with your expertise and your engagement with stakeholders on these things. Obviously, all of the recommendations across all the guidance documents are dense and essential. We always take them to heart to try to make sure we digest and internalize into our practices and policies as can.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciated. Courtney?
Hi, thank you, commissioners. I just wanted to maybe provide a brief clarification or comments on the suggested language or Victoria's suggested language. And this may possibly be pedantic, but it's currently phrased as the department has been made more vulnerable. And I think it probably should be more emphasized on the lands under their jurisdiction or in their trust. So maybe something more like the lands, the Hawaiian lands or lands allocated to people of Hawaiian heritage have been made more vulnerable. I defer to the commission on how they want to phrase that, though. It's just that the DHHL is the department versus, and that's distinguished from the lands that they hold in trust for the Hawaiian people.
Great, thank you. Noted. All right. We have a motion to accept the document. Do we have a second?
This is
Well-
Melanie. Oh, go
Sorry,
ahead, McKenna.
Oh, just really quickly, I want to acknowledge the language that Nancy put into the chat. And actually, I think that this gets to Courtney's point. So if we could maybe swap out those bullets to Nancy's suggestion.
Okay, Rosie's given us the thumbs up on that.
And
Did we
merge
get a-
them.
Did we get a second?
This is Melanie. I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Yep.
Aye.
Great. That passes with some important but light amendments. Thanks, everybody. All right, next on the agenda. Sea level rise. We have a second version of a sea level rise guidance document. The first version was put out, I think, 2 or 3 months ago. I want to thank Vicky for going through it a second time and providing edits. The document is focused on the new federal interagency task force scenarios for sea level rise, which were published under Sweet et al. There is a website you can go to, and it will take you to any of the tide gauges in the US tide gauge network. You can go to the Honolulu tide gauge and get modeled relative place specific scenarios of sea level rise. And the intermediate scenario, the global intermediate scenario for sea level rise by 2100 is 1 meter, and in Hawaii at the Honolulu tide gauge, it's 1.19 meters. So this reflects vertical land motion at tide gauge station, as well as sea level fingerprinting and other gravitational effects that have been modeled. And each of the scenarios, intermediate, high, etc., come with decadal benchmarks, which planners can use. If you choose a scenario, what does that scenario tell us about proposed sea level at 2060, 2080, etc.? The new document also compares the interagency scenarios to the IPCC AR6 and allows an estimate. Take your favorite estimate of the warming pathway that we are on, and you can compare the AR6 sea level rise estimate for that temperature pathway to the interagency scenario. And so this document contains a short analysis of temperature pathways that we may be on. And then also discusses new publication, which builds on a previous publication. The previous publication in 2018 documented that the current acceleration of observed sea level globally will take us to 65 centimeters by the end of the century. And the new publication building on that revises that number to 70 centimeters by the end of the century. Now, the intermediate low scenario only gets to 50 centimeters by the end of the century. So even today's current rate of acceleration makes the low and intermediate low scenarios obsolete. If you want to choose the intermediate low scenario, you're basically requiring that global sea level rise decelerate even as we are on a pathway of continued warming. And so this document proposes that we adopt the intermediate scenario specific to the Honolulu tide gauge for general planning by the city and county, and for public infrastructure works, adopt the intermediate high scenario. And I think that covers the main points in the document. So I'll open it up for discussion from commissioners. Who'd like to go first? Go ahead and unmute, or however you want to handle it. Rosie?
Hi, Chip. Thanks for this update. I had a question about whether or not the sea level rise viewer is being updated to account for these new projections.
So the Hawaii sea level rise viewer, there's new modeling going on that will lead, hopefully sooner rather than later, to a new viewer. The modeling is going to be introducing new components. First, it'll be probabilistic bathtub mapping. Then we're going to get some groundwater inundation analysis, and we're doing new modeling for seasonal and long-term wave run-up. So there are a number of new modeling efforts taking place, whereas the current Hawaii sea level rise viewer largely reflects one-dimensional modeling. The new modeling taking place is two-dimensional modeling, reflecting better physics. And yes, there will be a new viewer, but it's not going to be something that suddenly pops up. It's going to have to be rolled out segment by segment, probably over the next several years. Melanie, any comments or thoughts on the document?
Yeah, great document, Chip. Kind of great in sort of consolidating the comments from the last meeting. I just wanted to clarify one of the recommendations, point 5 to your summary on page 10. Is the recommendation to account for an additional foot of freeboard for the king tide plus the additional freeboard for heavy rains in areas with no drainage? I just want, it seems slightly conflicting, and I just wanted to clarify that. And then the second question, should there just be a definition of what freeboard means in terms of this sort of scenario? And would a simple graphic help you sort of illustrate these differences and how the elevation is changing based on what the public currently knows or what the city is currently using?
So what's being recommended is that the language is projects with low tolerance for flood risk should add an additional design elevation to account for compound events. For example, it's an example.
Okay.
1 foot for extreme or king tides, 1 foot for runoff accumulation in light of drainage failure at high tides. And you reference page 10.
Yes, in your summary.
And there it says adding 1 foot of freeboard to accommodate a king tide and adding an additional 1 foot of freeboard to accommodate heavy rainfall at high tide when there's no drainage capacity would provide an even greater buffer against flood damage. So what is the conflict?
Well, I think, and maybe this is just my interpretation, number 5 gives in a recommendation, right, on the additional foot, whereas in the summary, it just seems to be sort of like we should maybe more clearly add that additional foot, at least for the king tide accommodation.
Well, the recommendation gives that as an EG.
Mhm.
So it wasn't a flat recommendation of 1 foot. It was an example of what one might do.
Okay. I mean, I just wanted to just get that clarified. So if the summary is just more of an example situation of what could happen, that's fine.
I mean, do you have clarifying language?
I don't. I just wanted to, for myself, clarify, because I read the summary, and it seemed, fairly clear to me that adding that additional foot was highly recommended, or at least a good practice, I should say, a good practice, right? And I'm taking in the lens from a development, more of a planning standpoint. So just kind of getting clarity on what should be the practice recommended moving forward. I think if anything, it's the second point of my question was, should there be some definition on the freeboard in the summary, or just a simple graphic to sort of illustrate how this elevation may be changing and how it could impact a structure? Just a suggestion.
Yeah, so I want to say that freeboard is an official FEMA term, and I'm going to quickly Google that.
Yeah.
Can I jump in with a suggestion, an easy suggestion that I think might get to this? What if it just in the recommendation section in the EG, just add the word additional so that it's more clear that it's on top of rather than sort of combined? Does that get to it, Melanie?
Yeah, I think that will help to get to that. Yeah.
Okay, so EG and an additional
additional, yeah.
1 feet for extreme or king tides, an additional 1 foot for runoff.
And Chip, the freeboard is a FEMA definition. I'm just sort of, because it was the first time sort of introduced, right? And it's not sort of referenced throughout, just for some clarity for other readers and from a policy direct,
So I've added a link to the FEMA glossary, and there's freeboard in there. McKenna, I'm sorry, I was searching Google at the time. What was your recommendation?
Oh, just simply to add the words "an additional" in the EG in the recommendation bullet point 5, and that way it just makes it a little more clear that it's on top of.
So EG and additional.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. And I guess we could define freeboard. It'd be easy to put a footnote under the summary there, down at the bottom of the page. Okay. Regarding an illustration, that'd be nice. I don't know if that kills any chance of voting this document in at this meeting. Courtney?
I think that may go beyond a editorial change, depending on what the illustration would depict. So I think that may err more on the side of a substantial change.
We can strike out that comment then. I know, I think it's more important sort of to get this language across. So I think Chip, you sort of talked about the sea level rise viewer being updated, right? And I think the main thing I'm trying to get to is that people can sort of help to visualize this as it overlays on top of our sort of city grid. So visualization, I think, is important.
Yeah.
But we can
So
scratch that out.
the recommendation of an illustration came up last time and I forgot to do such a thing. So I agree, it would be a great inclusion to have. One way to handle this is if the commission decides to vote positively on this document, then at a later meeting, once an illustration is put together by somebody, there can be discussion and a vote of simply adding the illustration to this version of it. So it can be amended that way. Thank you, Melanie. Moving to McKenna. Comments?
Sure. This is really great, and I'm happy to hear that the viewer will reflect these new levels. I think that's really important to help people sort of put together, like, you know, what this is on paper, but then how do we actually translate this to implementation? My comments are very small. I think it's very, you know, generally pretty clear. And my only comment is around two figures. The first one and the last one. Unless authors have been contacted, those are not federal figures or PAC-IOs. And so so just to throw that out is it doesn't strike me that we can use them.
What's the last one? Figure 1.1 in the appendix?
In the appendix, yeah. So the first one is—
Those are federal.
Is that? Okay. The first one's Garrow.
Yeah.
In a pre. And the last one is, it looks like the last one's a Springer publication, if I'm looking at the right figure.
You're looking at these?
No, that's federal. That looked okay to me. The one after that.
After.
Figure 3-1.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay, well, we'll strike those figures.
Okay. Yeah, that's my only sort of housekeeping thing around it. But otherwise, I think it's really good.
Vicki, any thoughts?
I just put if you wanted to try and include a freeboard image or diagram right now, I just put in the chat a freeboard diagram from FEMA. It's not the best, but it's there on page 2 of that document I sent in the chat.
Maybe we reference this in that footer. That's going on the summary. Because to make it relevant to, well, I don't know. I mean, what I'm thinking is this doesn't have numbers on it. It doesn't have mean high or high water, and it is specific to the BFE, which I don't think we really talk about in the diagram.
No, I was just trying to find something federal really fast. But what would make it relevant to the document is that local, like adding the local numbers and stuff. So yeah, let's.
But this is certainly the right idea. Yeah.
I would be fine with not including anything now, with the idea that at a later time we can come back in once the document is approved and add with a fairly quick action.
Yeah, that could be amended with a later action. Thank you. Matt, thoughts or comments?
No, as always, I think, you know, we all recognize that risks change, flooding can happen. There's a lot that we can do to mitigate against it, but we need to be open and honest about, as the science evolves, internalizing that into our thinking. So as always, we appreciate the Commission's expertise on the science and ensuring we can access and be aware of it. Obviously, the next steps are to receive, digest, and keep moving forward with recommendations as we can through plans, policies, and programs.
Thank you. How about the public? Let's open this up for comments by the public.
Rosie has her hand up, Chip.
Hey Chip, I just wanted to, so we're clear that figure 3.3-1 is going to be removed. I want us to relook again at figure 1 because I was looking at it and it looks like it is not a federal document. It looks like it's Geru et al. I think we should be conservative and consider removing that one as well.
Which one? Figure 1?
Yeah,
Yeah, figure 1 is going to be struck, and figure 3-1.
great, thanks.
Brad,
Thanks, Chip. Aloha, commissioners. I just want to thank you all for this updated document. I think it's looking really good for the latest science. I just had a follow-on question related to the sea level rise viewer and the sea level rise exposure area. So as everybody knows, that Slerexa was mapped at 3.2 feet of sea level rise or up to that level. I'm hoping it would be the commission's recommendation to continue using that 3.2 foot sea level rise exposure area until new data is available. And similarly, I wondered if hope it would be the commission's recommendation to continue using, say, the 6 foot NOAA passive flooding until 2100, until new sea level rise exposure mapping data is available in the next 2-3 years or whatever it may be. And maybe a recommendation along those lines is needed in the paper. Thanks.
thanks, Brad. Dolan?
Okay, aloha, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Chip. Great document. I had maybe more of a philosophical question about some of the language in the recommendations with respect to the term should adopt. And I'm just curious what that means. There's a lot of us that work around this science that we're being asked a lot of questions about what this will mean as far as application to real world scenarios. And maybe that's a difficult question to answer, but I'm curious if anybody has any thoughts on what the practical application of this will eventually be.
Well, there was guidance accepted a couple of years ago from this commission, and Matt, you can help me out here. The mayor's directive accepting that guidance and actually extending it to the executive departments stated that future updates would automatically be included in the directive. Matt, do you want to expand on that?
Yeah, I would have to go back and get the specific language, but in essence, that's the gist of it. As guidance is adopted and updated, the directive says to use the latest guidance from the commission across the climate change brief and sea level rise guidance.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Matt. I appreciate that. And yeah, I'll be tuned in to follow this as it develops. So thank you for all your hard work on this, for all the commissioners.
We also had a discussion at our last meeting about whether should adopt is appropriate language, and Courtney provided the opinion that it was appropriate because it's a recommendation listed under a category called recommendations. But if you have any suggested edits, happy to consider them.
Yeah, none at this time. Thank you, though. I'll consider that for any future edits if there's an opportunity to do so.
Okay. Brad, I have to apologize. I was answering a question that I received in the chat. Did you have a suggested edit?
I can provide one. It was actually suggested addition that maybe this paper, the commission should recommend using until new Slerexa data is available at your recommended heights of 3.8 feet and 5.8 feet, that the commission might need to recommend. This may be understood, but I think it might need to go in the paper that the commission recommends that for the purposes of the sea level rise viewer and everything related to that, as well as the cities, Climate Ready Oahu viewer that continue using the 3.2 Slerexa until the new map data is available.
Yeah, okay. I think that's a good idea. Did you see a place where that could fit in, a particular recommendation? And also, would you provide some words for us to consider?
I'd be happy to do that. It might just be some added text into recommendations number 2 and 3 on page 1, or maybe it's a standalone recommendation in there.
Maybe you could drop a sentence into the chat.
Yeah, be glad to.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Other comments, Matt?
Just surfacing, and especially in direct relation to what Brad was able to just share, the procedure, the actual sentence in Directive 18-2 is to use the most current version of the Commission's guidance and accompanying brief, and the report, which is a reference to the state's sea level rise adaptation report or vulnerability and adaptation report, and associated Hawaii sea level rise viewer, right? As end users of both data tools and recommendations, we're somewhat shortchanged or don't have the immediate resources available at different levels or distinctions, but it's encouraging to hear that there's progress on that front while we also better understand the science and the need for updated thinking.
Thank you. Other comments from the public? All right. Checking the chat. How's it going, Brad?
It's going to take me a minute. I've been on my phone. I got to switch to my computer if I'm going to type something. So I'll get you something, Chip. Thanks.
Okay. How about
Chip,
Yep.
a suggestion, we could go on to the next agenda item and come back to this one, since I'll be giving a little bit of a presentation about the building document if you wanted, or if Brad needs significantly more time.
I think we can just vote as follows. So I would ask for a motion to vote on this document with amendments, with an amended recommendation suggesting that users continue to use the existing Hawaii sea level rise viewer. Do I have a second? Rosie, second. Members, discussion or comment?
Really quickly, just some I put in the chat to address Dolan's question. I think comment that I think is a good one, that adopt is a little bit vague, right? Because like, what does it mean to adopt? I think more specific would be to set as a planning and policy benchmark.
Where does this apply?
Recommendations 2 and 3. This idea of like, what does it mean to adopt, right? And I think it means to set as a policy and planning benchmark.
Set as a
Planning and policy benchmark.
planning and policy benchmark. And that would be in both 2 and 3.
Yes.
Thank you. That sounds good. Other discussion? I see something in the chat. Does there need to be a link to the Pacifica plan and it's the footnote someplace? What is the Pacifica plan, Nancy?
It's on page 14. You're listing examples and you have a footnote for Nantucket, but there's no footnote for the Pacifica adaptation plan. So I don't know if you wanted to add that or if it's referenced somewhere else. Or if we can just use Google.
Yep. Okay. So we will add a link to Pacifica plan.
Okay.
And we have from Brad, add to recommendation 2, and that the city continue to utilize the 3.2 foot Solexa until updated Solexa map data is available. That looks good to me. Commissioners, any discussion on Brad's recommendation? All righty. And sorry, there you are. All right. Let's take a vote. All in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. Aye.
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 Melanie, are you abstaining?
Wait, Brad is still
I
going.
raised my hand. Aye, sorry.
All right, so the paper is accepted as amended.
Oh, wait,
Brad?
hold on. Is Brad done?
He added the language about the passive 6-foot flooding for recommendation 3 as well, which we had already discussed.
Okay, yep. So we'll grab these somehow. Vicky, why don't we turn it over to you to take up the next agenda item, which is the greenhouse gas emissions from building operation guidance document.
Yep, lots of meaty stuff today. All right, I'm going to share my screen in 1 minute. Is everybody seeing the presentation?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so today I wanted to give an update on a lot of work that has been going on for the past several months on revising what was originally known as the construction document, climate and construction. Now it is known as the Reducing Greenhouse Gas Emissions from Building Operations Guidance document. And I'm going to give an update on both the updated findings, the process that we've went through to get here, and the new recommendations, so we can go forward with discussion. Skip this. We all know what the Honolulu Climate Change Commission does. So just a little background to remind everybody who wasn't working on this paper about the justification about including climate and building operations as the focus of this guidance document. So buildings are generating about 40% of global greenhouse gas emissions, which is more than the transportation and industry sectors. And we see them as a critical opportunity and solution to the climate crisis. In addition, 28% of annual emissions are from buildings' energy consumption, known as their operational carbon or greenhouse gas emissions, and 10% are the embodied carbon from building materials and construction. And so we see this again as a critical opportunity to decarbonize our existing stock and reduce emissions in new construction. And also this fits into President Biden's plans to reduce the carbon footprint of the US sector, building sector by 50% by 2035. And it also corresponds with the Paris Agreement goals in terms of reducing emissions in the US building sector. We also know that at the state level and the local level, electricity costs in Hawaii in 2020 were 2.6 times the national average. And currently 75% of our energy is from burning fossil fuels. This relates to the Honolulu Climate Action Plan, Strategy 5, to reduce energy demand by increasing energy efficiency. And we also wanted to point out that each dollar spent on efficiency generally saves 10 times that amount in energy bills. And in 2020, looking in Hawaii, the savings multiplier was actually 11 to 1. We also recognize that Hawaii lacks quantitative targets for building energy use intensity that surpass the required energy code in order to meet the state's clean energy goals. And so there are strategies that are needed to get us to that point. Moving on for the guidance document timeline. So I wanted to remind everyone, since this has been going on for quite a while and has gone through a lot of different iterations, the history of this document. So the original guidance document was drafted, as I said, as climate and the construction industry by our previous commissioner, Bettina Menert. She was the lead author of that. First order was introduced in September of 2020. After revisions and discussion, the second order draft was introduced in December of 2020. I joined Bettina as an author in April of 2021. We then held a stakeholder workshop in May of 2021 and distributed a survey to get diverse participation and comments on the recommendations and structure of the document. So 20 participants participated in that workshop, an additional 12 in the survey. After reviewing all of the comments and that stakeholder discussion, we decided to both narrow the document into reducing greenhouse gas emissions from building operation and expand the recommendations within that smaller, more specialized building operation topic. So at that point, we transferred the authorship again to me and our newest commissioner, Melanie Islam, in October of 2021. And then we brought in a research team to help us put together new guidance and recommendations based on all of that stakeholder input that we had received over the last year. And I will introduce them all later. Many of them are in the room here today, but they have been critical in getting us to this point. We then held, after we revised that document with the new research team, a new series of stakeholder meetings. From July 7th to 13th, 9 people were able to participate in those smaller group discussions to really take more recommendations on the edits, on the document, on the overall key recommendations. And that leaves us to where we are today, the third order draft being introduced. So the new purpose of our document is to mitigate climate change through reducing greenhouse gas emissions from the building's operational energy use, and to adapt to climate change through the implementation of sustainable and resilient development policies and design strategies. We also wanted to point out that the paper supports the implementation of the Honolulu Climate Action Plan and the Hawaii Clean Energy Initiative, and informs the upcoming Honolulu Climate Adaptation Plan. And so based on stakeholder feedback and discussion, as we discussed, and I'll go more into it, the key designs influences in the guidance includes codes, policies, incentives, and education. And I'll go through more of that. So again, the purpose of the stakeholder discussions over the last year were to really incorporate different voices from diverse sectors in the development and review. And this is in line with our equity pledge and document that went forward of really listening to different stakeholder groups and incorporating diverse expertise and contexts. We also wanted to get a more local Hawaii and Oahu context section and make sure that the recommendations that we put forward were both practical and aspirational. I won't go over these too much in detail, but we had a lot of different groups represented in the stakeholder discussions, which were the actual, I was going to say physical discussions, but Zoom discussions that we held around the document. And this was across both 2021 and 2022. We identified a lot of other organizations to be contacted through survey to give their recommendations. Not all of these groups responded, but they were reached out to multiple times. So in the stakeholder discussions, I just wanted to bring up a couple themes that came up throughout the discussion. One was, of course, the challenge of limited resources versus the idea of saved costs in the future with implementing these types of modifications, but taking into account that we have these city and state emissions reductions goals that we do have to think about meeting. Also, something that came up again and again was the critical need for expedited permitting, the importance of education and technical assistance in implementation of a lot of the recommendations and new technologies, the value of studies to determine the impact of the requirements on different building types, how key incentives are for building owners to implementing any of these reduction measures. People wanted to see a lot of examples of implementation of these types of similar policies in other cities, and the need for, as was stated earlier, the iterative evaluations of these types of strategies. So recognizing that this is a living document. So considering all of these things, the guidance document was heavily revised with our HNEI team to incorporate an assessment of operational carbon emissions reduction policies from other cities, which are scattered throughout the document, guidance to reduce embodied carbon from building construction, on policies incentives, and finally, resources for professional education on embodied and operational carbon emission reductions. So our revised guidance document structure, and again, I'm not going to go over it too much detail because it's all there for everyone to review, but we did add new significant sections dealing with codes, policies and practices, incentives, and educations. And each of those research sections defines the objectives, the context, potential actions to achieve the objectives, and includes where appropriate best practices and case studies with examples from other cities. Finally, it ends with the next steps to help achieve those objectives. There's also a summary of the stakeholder focus groups and surveys that were done, future research needs that were unable to be included in this document, an appendix with sustainable and resilient design strategies, and of course a reference list. So these are the key recommendations. They're all in the document as well. To really get to this place, I wanted to go over very quickly just the recommendations in each of those sections that was built out. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going over this because they were there for everyone to read, and we'll go back to discussing them at the end. So in terms of codes, the potential actions were to adopt the most recent energy code, adopt stretch and reach codes, seek technical assistance for energy codes, fund staff for the State Building Council, and to improve competitiveness for FEMA brick funding, which is something we've discussed here before. In terms of codifying policies to reduce carbon emissions from existing buildings' operational energy use, the potential actions included to require building energy benchmarking, which we are obviously making progress on the city scale, to require energy audits and commissioning, and to implement building performance standards. To inform these potential actions, a wide variety of case studies and best practices were summarized from, as you can see, all of the cities on the right, New York City, Seattle, Minneapolis, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Austin, Denver, and Washington, D.C. So it really provides some context of how other cities are looking at codifying these policies. In terms of incentivizing building owners, occupants, designers, and builders to adopt practices to reduce emissions from building operations, the actions include create comprehensive programs for new and existing buildings, to link city-funded programs to greenhouse gas emissions reduction, expand tax benefits, expand loans and grants, expedite building permitting, and access additional financing. And all those are big headings, but there are a lot of best practices. And this is a very meaty section with a lot of great ideas from these different cities and across the globe. Really, there's a Canadian example as well from Vancouver. Yeah, so all of these different case studies inform those potential actions in terms of how incentives have worked in other places. And then in education, to identify opportunities for different groups to utilize policies, national frameworks to reduce buildings' operational energy use. In this, we included to support the AIA 2030 commitment training, to support the AIA framework for design excellence training and awards, and to host training on new codes, policies, and incentives. And so some of the next steps with this was looking at how different groups can determine relevant training formats, responsibilities, and schedules and work together with the city. Finally, I did want to acknowledge the huge contribution from our research team at HNEI. And so the research team, I really want to give a huge thanks to Wendy Maguro, Eileen Peppard, Felix Gottinger, and Ryan Ringett for leading the grounded academic and field research, Bettina Menert and Rafi Lee for the initial document drafting and working with me on that stakeholder feedback, and to Jim Mascray from the Hawaii Natural Energy Institute for guidance. And then we also thank all of the stakeholders and participants that have been a part of the process from the focus groups and the survey and the follow-up discussions. And so with that, I will stop sharing my screen and I'll open it up to comments from the rest of the commission. Once I can find.
Thank you, Vicky. That was an amazing lift, amazing undertaking. I would really like to see this document move towards a vote today. And I just really want to recognize the enormous amount of work you put into this. Commissioners, any comments from anybody? Rosie?
Thanks. I just want to commend Vicky and all of the previous authors who have, as Chip said, done this tremendous lift. I think it also illustrates like what it takes to truly incorporate diverse voices, and our pledge to equity really means a pledge to hard work but really wanting to include our communities in this effort. So I know I'm very supportive of this new document. Thank you for the explanations.
Thanks, Rosie. Vicky, there are a couple comments from Henry in here, and Henry, we will get to you. But thanks for those comments. In the meantime, Vicky, maybe you can look those over and think about them. Melanie, as a co-author here, thank you very much for all the work. Any additional thoughts or comments?
Just one point that Vicky kind of pointed out, it's a living document, so there's much more work to be done, but just a huge feat, and many thanks to our HNE research team. So,
McKenna.
Yeah, I just want to commend both of you on just this enormous lift. And actually, based on recommendation from Courtney, because one of the main recommendations here is to support the climate action plan, I'm going to recuse myself from the conversation and the vote because I work so closely on the climate action plan.
All right, thank you. Vicky, in the recommendations, recommendation 3, 4, and 5, should those be indented under recommendation 2? Because recommendation, go ahead.
Yeah, that's so we actually ended up moving the task force recommendation up. Previously, it was at the end of the list, but we thought it made more sense to move it up at kind of the end when we were doing some final organization. And I feel like while it is independent from
Okay.
3, 4, and 5, but it's important that it be before them in terms of the recommendation. So it does lay out the need for the roadmap.
Okay, that's fine.
I don't know. I could. Melanie, do you have a thought on that?
no, I agree. Those are very separate recommendations, so they should be as presented. So.
And then on page 10, the very top item, 2.3.4, you talk about state building code. Oh, actually, the 2022 Senate Bill 3381 titled is under review at the time of writing. Is there any update you want to make to this?
It didn't pass, so
Didn't pass.
yeah, we can make an update to that. But the need is still there, and it's a critical need because it supports essentially how rapid codes get adopted through our state following the current HRS, and then how it can potentially get implemented down to the county level.
Okay, so do we want to change this to something aspirational rather than a report out on a failed effort?
Yeah, we can update it that it didn't pass and reiterate it as a critical need.
Or just not update it that it didn't pass, simply state the aspiration.
So would that be removing that sentence on the Senate bill then?
Let's see.
I feel like it's useful as a reference.
Yeah.
for-
Okay, yeah. Yep. You could say it is critical. So what did that bill do? It just added 2 FTE?
It was a bill calling for funding
Okay.
of the State Building Code Council, and specifically calling out the types of roles, full-time staff we needed.
Yeah, it would be good to reference the bill. That could go in a
Mhm.
footnote, but then maybe replacing sentence number 2, potentially sentence number 3, with something along the lines of, it will be critical to increase funding and FTE, yada, yada, yada. You can work on that. Why don't we go to Matt? Did you have any thoughts?
Sharing some of the sentiments expressed by commissioners. I mean, I greatly appreciate both the process, the summary that Commissioner Keener provided, a reminder on the lift and the resourcing, and through that whole process, it's also developing relationships to then act on any of the recommendations. And the recommendations are great in themselves, but then the additional benefit of potential actions, right? Like ways to actually carry it forward. We're always thinking about the how-to of any of the guidance documents that come from the commission. A lot to consider, a lot to navigate in terms of resourcing, on balance, both the aspirations and some of the suggestions on the how-to, plus collecting the information from the other jurisdictions on incentives coupled with aspirational and important policies is essential. And we're just so appreciative of the research team and taking this to heart. As we know, there's this perceived tension between affordability and climate action. And I think we all know that we need to do everything that we can on both fronts all together at the same time. And I see great benefit from the discussions that the commission facilitated to elevate the comprehension and the opportunities to do so. And that's something that we within CCSR and Ben Sullivan in particular, who most of you know, we are endeavoring to do, because we need to understand that everyone needs to come to the table for these monumental challenges while we drive down emissions here locally, but also understanding that that's cost savings and affordability for people today, helping it resonate and be important for the future, while we're doing everything else that we can to show and demonstrate to the world, to the nation, to the city, to the state, what's needed so that we can continue to thrive into the future. So a lot to reread after the commission takes a vote, and just a mahalo to all of you and for the opportunity to participate in the process.
Thank you, Matt. Vicki, Walter Billingsley suggests that we change the title to Reducing Greenhouse Gas Emissions from the Building Sector, rather than specifically building operation.
Yeah. Oh, I see Melanie unmuting.
I don't think we extensively talk enough about the embodied carbon piece to talk about the total carbon. So I think it's, in my recommendations, appropriate to have a focus on operation, because that is the core focus and chunk of this paper.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I agree with that, Walter and Melanie. I agree with keeping it as it is, because we intentionally didn't talk as much about the embodied carbon. I also see a comment from Henry: critical need for expedited permitting with streamlining, added agency staff, and parallel processing, but excluding reducing meaningful community input. Excluding reducing. Henry, do you want to expand on that a little bit, or explain exactly what you mean there?
Yeah, I think it's mentioned 10 times in the report that we need expedited permitting, but we never state in the report that expedited permitting can be done through cutting the community out of the process.
Oh,
I think it,
Hmm.
and so often it's a buzzword for developers. We'll just cut staffing and cut funding at agencies and then automatically approve it because we need an expedited permitting. And I think this report should make a distinction between that approach and involving the community, because we are talking about social equity.
That's a great comment, Henry. Thank you. I think we can fit that in. Maybe reviewing the where expedited permitting appears in the document, and inserting a clause about and ensuring that there are adequate opportunities for meaningful community input. Does that address?
Yes, that would be great. Mahalo.
Other comments from commissioners? All right, if not, do we want to open up to additional comments from the public?
So any additional comments from the public? Howard. You need to unmute, Howard. Oh, there.
Okay, that works a whole lot better there. Thank you, commissioners. This is listening to this whole meeting, tremendous amount of work and talent you're putting into this. Just a few pieces of good news regarding greenhouse gases in buildings. Number one, the legislature recently passed House Bill 1800, which is a comprehensive greenhouse gas reduction type of bill, and it overlaps a lot with the commission's mission. I would encourage you looking at that and looking for areas of collaboration, since it affects all buildings statewide. Number two, House Bill 1801 specifically addresses state government buildings, and that's a lot of buildings, all the university system, all the public schools. And this involves leading by example by reducing greenhouse gases. Number three, you have probably read that on the federal level, there's the infrastructure bill that was recently passed, and that involves a whole lot of money, including a whole lot of money for Hawaii and we certainly can address reduction of greenhouse gases with that money. Again, we need to collaborate on that. Speaking of collaboration, Ben Sullivan and I have been working really hand in glove together, with me inputting on the city's energy code bill, and Ben on the adoption of the 2021 IECC, International Energy Conservation Code. And what we have done in both initiatives is, number one, made the codes more stringent, but since we both bumped heads with opposition over many years, we have collaborated with the building industry, and hopefully we'll get these two bills through without a whole lot of fuss and bother in an expedited way. Renewables. We certainly work very hard in this office on renewables, and that is a major force for greenhouse gas reduction. And urban heat island was specifically mentioned. I work with the Cool Roof Rating Council nationally, and we recently passed or adopted a new entity called the Cool Wall Rating Council, and within that is the urban heat island effect. And I sit on that committee also. And finally, Vicki mentioned incentives. I look at your bill, and I know that when you approach building owners, building managers, they're going to say, oh, that's fine. We're going to reduce greenhouse gases or kWh consumption. Well, how do we do that? Number one, they're going to need expertise, and number two, they're going to need incentives all over the place. And you have very adequately covered that. I want to pat you on the back for that. And finally, the Hawaii State Energy Office is in close contact with the Pacific Northwest National Labs. That's a think tech lab for U.S. Department of Energy, and we can use them as a great resource. All of which leads to the general conclusion that we in the Energy Office really want to collaborate closely with you. And Vicki has been very good about reaching out to me and us going back and forth. So just I hope that gives you some good news, and really looking forward to getting benefit from all the expertise that I see on this commission. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Howard. I think we actually have the HNEI team here today, Wendy, Felix, Eileen, and Ryan, who did a lot of the research on this as well. If you guys could, if you don't mind putting your cameras on for a second, I'd love to just, thank you in person for all of the research work that you put into this. So thank you. And acknowledge that in front of everyone on the commission and in the public.
All right.
And sorry, go ahead, Chip.
So any further comments?
I'm seeing stuff in the chat from Nancy. Just want to make sure we're capturing that.
Hi, are you still taking comments from the public?
Yep.
Okay, I just had a couple of revisions to the sentence on page 28 that talks about Kaupuni. I added Kaupuni Village on Hawaiian homelands in Waianae. It needs an Okina in there. This project serves 19 native little n native Hawaiian families as stated in the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act. And so, I mean, to be consistent with it. And then, the only thing I would add, we don't necessarily have to add it, but that project did have to be heavily subsidized. So I don't know if it's the greatest model, but it is a model, and if we can figure out how to continue to make these sorts of projects more affordable with economies of scale, I'm hoping, then they won't need to be subsidized quite so heavily. I think it was ARRA, ARRA project. So, okay, thank you. Mahalo.
Thanks, Nancy. I got your corrections in there.
Great. Okay, so I think that winds up all the comments. May I have a motion to accept the document?
Motion to accept the document.
Thank you, Rosie. Second?
Second?
Thank
Can
you.
we second? I don't know.
Yes, you can. So all in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
McKenna is exempted or abstain, I guess abstain. So motion passes, document accepted. Well done. Thanks, everybody. And moving on to next agenda item, discussion and action on election of chair and vice chair of the commission. So I will entertain motions for a new chair to the commission. Does anybody wish to, what's the word, nominate? Does anybody wish to nominate a new chair to the commission? Vicki?
I will nominate Dr. Rosie Allegado.
Very good. Thank you. Any comment or discussion on the nomination of Dr. Allegado as the next chair of the commission? I'm highly in favor of this. Rosie has served as a wonderful vice chair over the past year, and I think she is going to do a great job leading the commission into the future.
Thanks,
Rosie?
Chair.
Yeah.
I accept the nomination.
Great. Any additional discussion? All right, commissioners, All in favor? Oh, may I have a motion to accept Rosie as to vote in Rosie as the next chair of the commission?
So moved.
Thank you, McKenna. And a second, please.
A second.
Thank you, Vicky. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
I
Excellent. Thank you. Rosie, you are the new chair of the commission. Would you like to conduct the vote for the vice chair? Or do you want me to just go on a roll here and do that as well?
You're on a roll. Keep going, Chip.
Okay, I would like to open the floor for nominations for vice chair for the commission. Anybody care to make a nomination?
I would like to nominate Dr. Keener to be vice chair of the commission.
Excellent. Thank you, Rosie. Dr. Keener, do you accept the nomination?
I accept the nomination.
Is there any discussion from anybody? I think that Vicky will make an excellent vice chair. She has experience and will help Rosie lead the commission into a bright and brilliant future. So I'm accepting a nomination or accepting a motion to vote in Dr. Keener as the next vice chair.
so moved.
Thank you, Melanie. Second.
Second.
Thank you, McKenna. All in favor? Aye.
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 Great. Turn the digital gavel over to you, Rosie. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chip. The next item on the agenda is to acknowledge Commissioner Kaufman's end of service. And so I think that all of us can very much acknowledge that in our, the group that we have now has evolved a bit, but there are 4 of us who have come, the distance together. And we're very thankful to McKenna for leading us initially in that first year, trying to figure us out together. McKenna and Chip was the vice chair. And I think that McKenna, you really set the standard for the quality of our guidance documents, as well as the efficiency of our text and our words and our ideas. So I just want to start off by thanking you for all of the service that you have done for the commission and therefore, the city and county of Honolulu and the island of Oahu. So I want to open it up for my other commissioners to add in any of their thoughts as well.
Yeah, I'd like to underscore those words, Rosie. It was a real joy serving with McKenna all these years, and it was great to work with her in launching the commission the first 2 years of our existence.
I'll throw in my thanks as well. McKenna, it's been wonderful working with you as a colleague and getting to know you on the commission more. I've really appreciated your insight and just the high standard that you bring to all the work that you do.
And then although Commissioner McKenna, our time was short, I really appreciate all of your insights and just the knowledge that you brought to this community. So wishing you all the best on your next endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you all. No, it's been a tremendous learning experience and I've really enjoyed serving on this commission. I think, we really did have to figure out in those first few years, like how we were going to operate and what we were going to do. And it was really it was a great process doing that with all of you and having you join us, Melanie. So, and I also just want to thank all of the people at CCSR. Thank you, Matt, for the support, making the commission go. And it's been really wonderful working with you.
Matt or any of the public, do you have any words that you would like to also express at this time for Commissioner Kaufman?
Just a very succinct and sincere mahalo nui loa. And I know we're going to continue to work together, McKenna, on a whole variety of things. So truly the volunteer service to the city, to the community, and the continued elevation of the importance of the University of Hawaii and the services and expertise that is our land grant, space grant, sea grant, sun grant, all of the above, important, critical sector and resource for us as residents and as public servants. So thank you again, McKenna.
Does anyone from the public wish to have any comments? Okay, before we end I also want to point out two additional mahalos I want to extend. First, I want to thank former Chair Fletcher for his service as a chair. Thank you for your leadership over this past year. It has been wonderful to work with you and continue to work with you in the future, and for your leadership. I know that you are wearing the mantle of many leadership roles at this moment, and so thank you for all of that. I also want to take the time to thank Ryan Ringwet, who has been our graduate assistant this past year and who has been really instrumental in supporting the research that underlies, as you can see, the documents. And this commission is very active. And so thank you, Ryan, for all of your help in all of our endeavors. Okay, so with that in mind, if we have no other comments on that agenda item, I'd like to move to take public input for matters not on the agenda. Does anybody have anything that they would like to announce? Sorry, is there anybody would like to have public input on at this time? Okay, seeing no one raise their hand to contribute. Our next tentative item is to set the date for our next commission meeting. So me personally, I am going to be on travel for the month of August. So I would like us to actually look for dates in September. Perhaps we can look at our calendars to look at those dates if possible. And maybe given that McKenna is stepping off, we should maybe wait until the new commissioner is installed to consider those dates. So I'd like to recommend that we table this item. Yes, Matt.
I was extremely remiss in my opening share at the top of the agenda. To that point and reference, again, thank you, McKenna, for your term of service. There is a resolution moving through City Council with a new nominee or appointee by Mayor Blangiardi. That resolution is anticipated to be heard in its final meeting on August the 10th at the next full City Council meeting. Her name is Kiana Atsuka. She currently serves in a role with the State Energy Office focused on vehicle miles traveled, clean transportation, access and mobility, all things ground transportation. And we're excited by the nomination and we look forward to the council's ultimate hearing and the possibility of her confirmation that same day. So that would afford an opportunity to include Kiana in any next scheduling for a next meeting.
Great. So we'll hope that that all resolves itself very nicely and we can include her in our planning for the next meeting. With that said, I'd like us to move to the next agenda item, which is announcements. Does anybody in the public or any commissioners have any announcements relevant to the business of the Climate Change Commission?
I don't have an announcement directly related to the commission, but it is related to the topics that we're talking about. On September 23rd, the U.S. Green Building Council Hawaii Community will have their annual conference, which will be talking about affordable housing, green building, and climate action and equity. More details to come, but I highly recommend the commission and the public to attend.
Great, thanks. Are there any other announcements that the public should want to make, or any commissioners who have any additional meetings or relevant information to bring forward? Okay, and so with that, I seek any calls to adjourn the meeting.
my last action. I'll so moved.
Second.
It's a momentous occasion for us to say goodbye and aloha to Commissioner Kaufman. So this month's meeting of the Climate Change Commission is now adjourned. Thank you.